So Unpacking Brain Drama. I'm pretty sure I'm live with you guys. If you guys are new to me, I'm Pratiti Pathak. I'm a resilience life coach and I help people grow through what they go through. And here on this channel, I am your guide on this amazing journey of self-discovery, resilience, self-empowerment, and intentional living. Today, I want to introduce a concept. If some of you that don't know me, it's a concept that I shaped all of my coaching work around for more than 5 years ago. In fact, it's the foundation of one of my signature programs. It's the book that I'm working on this year, and it's how to put your goals on autopilot because we are all working towards making improvements in our lives in many different areas. And I'm going to go over all of the different areas that I work with. And so much of our work is habitual, right? But it's not necessarily always taking us where we want to go. So I first created and taught this program years ago as an 8-week group coaching program experience, and then later expanded it to 12 weeks as a group program. And I just felt like, there was so much more to add to it. So I expanded it. Then since then, I've coached countless individuals one-on-one through this process and watched people not only create incredible results, but literally like transform their lives, not because they learned another productivity hack or discovered a better planner or journaled more, but because they finally understood what was really driving their behavior. You see, most people think they have a goal problem. I know we talked about goals last week, and it's more about who you're becoming, but the goal is really not the problem. What they're actually having is a relationship problem. So stay with me here just for a moment. I'm not talking about your spouse, your children, your coworker, or your friends. I'm talking about the relationship that's running every area of your life, right? You have many different areas of your life. Your entire life is made up of relationships, not with people, that's part of it, but with everything. Your relationship with money, your relationship with food, your relationship with exercise, your relationship with time, with stress, with success, with money, with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with your clothing, your hair, your style, all of it, right? And perhaps most importantly, it all comes down to the relationship with yourself, okay? Every result you're currently getting in your life is a reflection of those relationships. Does that make sense? Raise your hands, put a comment in the chat if that really hits hard right now. I want you to think about that for a moment because most people spend their lives trying to change the result, trying to change the circumstance while never examining the relationship that they have with this area or this thing or this moment that's producing it. Okay. That's why so much of our goals don't stick. Did you ever see somebody who finally does lose all the weight, but gains it all back? They don't identify with that, right? Their relationship with that skinnier version of themselves isn't solid, right? Or somebody who wins all the money in a lottery and then loses it all. They don't identify as somebody that has that type of money because their relationship with money isn't that of a wealthy person. The goal isn't the problem. The things aren't the problem. It's the relationship. So let's talk about that for a moment. Have you ever said, and I try to use the most basic common things like weight, money, but have you ever said, I want to lose more weight, or I would love to move, I want to lose some weight anyway? right? I know that I wanted to gain weight all of my life, but then after menopause, here I am wanting to lose some pounds, right? I want to save more money. I want to be more organized. I want better relationships. I want to stop procrastinating. I want less stress, right? Most people immediately focus on what? The outcome. Okay. They focus on the loss of the weight, the making of the money, the finding of the partner, right? Getting organized, becoming more productive. But the goal is often the symptom, not the real issue that's lying underneath. Okay. Because if your relationship with food is unhealthy, or your relationship with your body, right? If you have body image issues, most likely the relationship with food is not going to be a healthy one, right? No diet will permanently fix that ever, right? If your relationship with money is built on fear, scarcity, lack, guilt, avoidance, or self-worth issues, no raise, no promotion, no new job will permanently fix that. If your relationship with yourself is rooted in criticism or judgment, no amount of success will ever feel enough. Okay. You'll never get to a point where you're like proud of yourself. There's still going to be some gaping hole. Did you ever meet someone, talk to somebody, hear of somebody who's wildly successful? I know that we've all heard about celebrities and people that are famous for doing extraordinary things in their lives and still have felt empty and just a lack of self, right? You're like, how could that be positive? How could that be possible? Somebody who's doing so many amazing things, you think that they just have it all and they're just happy and fulfilled all the time. But that lack of fulfillment and that emptiness is huge for them, right? It's because their relationship with themselves in certain areas, right? If your relationship with exercise feels like punishment, you'll constantly struggle to stay consistent, right? No matter how badly you want it, no matter how badly you want the beach body, you won't be able to do the beach body workout consistently. The goal isn't the problem. It isn't wanting the beach body that's the problem. It's the relationship you have with what it takes to get the beach body, right? And to identify with that body once it's ready for the beach. Okay? It's the relationship. And every relationship creates patterns, right? Which brings us right back to what I call autopilot. For years, I have taught that our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, and our actions create our results. All true, right? That's not me. That's science. That's cognitive behavioral science. But over time, I became fascinated by an even deeper question. What creates those thoughts in the first place, right? I teach that it's your circumstances, it's the situation, but that's where this concept of autopilot comes in, right? It's the pattern of thought, right? It's the conditioning, it's the belief systems, it's the stories we've been telling ourselves our whole lives, right? That's what brings up the thoughts that we get automatically when faced in a certain circumstance or situation, right? The relationship that we've created with ourselves in all these different areas of our lives by what we've made things mean early on, whether we made that mean something. We heard big people talking and we made that mean something, or somebody told us what something meant and we just took it for, yeah, must be true, right? And then we just took that with us and we never questioned it again. Okay, so it's the relationship that we've created with ourselves in all these different areas of our lives. Here's the thing. Most of these relationships are operating on a very unconscious level. Okay, they're running in the background like an app that's draining your battery. They're just automatic and we don't even know that they're running, right? Because they're so automatic, we stop questioning them. We simply assume that they're true and just move on because why? That's easier. That's also what our brain likes. Repetition, familiarity doesn't kill us. Keep it going. But maybe your autopilot says things like mine did. You're not disciplined. I'm not disciplined. I'm bad with money. I'm not allowed to make a certain amount of money given my background and my ability, right? I never finish what I start. I'll probably fail. I'll probably mess it up. It probably won't work right. I will always gain the weight back. I'm not enough. That's a universal one right there. Success is for other people. What's fascinating is that these thoughts may have started years ago, maybe even decades ago for some of us, but because they've been repeated so often, they no longer feel like thoughts. They're just facts. They just feel like facts, right? And when a thought feels like a fact, we stop, right? We stop challenging it. We simply just live from it. And that becomes not only our reality, but it also becomes our identity. Did you ever just tell yourself, I'm just not a morning person. I'm just always late. I'm just lazy. I'm just not organized, right? And we label ourselves the other way too, right? I'm always organized. I'm always on time, right? We can tell ourselves either one, and they're both true. One of the things I tell my clients all the time, your results are always leaving clues, not proof, not punishment, not evidence that something's gone wrong, right? Or anything's broken, but clues. What are clues? Feedback. Clues are information, right? If you're constantly overwhelmed, there may be a relationship with time that needs attention, right? If you're always late, there may be a relationship with time that needs your attention. You can always change your relationship, right? Have you ever had a good relationship with somebody and then it changed and it wasn't so great? And then you made up and then it was great again? You can change your relationship with these other things too, right? If you're struggling financially, raise your hand if that's ever been you. If you're struggling financially, there may be a relationship with money that needs to be examined. For me, I didn't realize it, but literally all the way up until I was 50 years old, I didn't even realize that I had a horrible relationship with money. I didn't think that I was somebody that was capable of making over a certain amount of money, let alone create wealth, let alone create generational wealth, right? Because of all the things I was told. I didn't think that I was capable of making anything over $40,000-$50,000 a year. And guess what? I didn't, because I didn't think I could, right? I had a relationship with money issue until something just clicked. And I was like, that's actually not true, right? If your health isn't where you'd like it to be, if you've ever told yourself, this is just the pair body that I have because my mom's got a pair body, my grandmother's have a pair body, everybody, all the women in my family have a pair body. So I am just doomed to have a pair body, right? It's your relationship with your body. If your relationship with your body is unhealthy, food, movement, self-care, none of that's going to make a difference, right? If your health isn't where you'd like it to be, there may be a relationship with food, movement, self-care, body image that deserves your curiosity. Notice I said curiosity. not judgment, right? Most people want to attack themselves when they don't like their results, right? Or they criticize, right? But rarely does criticism create long lasting change, right? Awareness does, curiosity does, compassion does. But when we get curious, we stop asking, what's wrong with me? And we start asking things like, what relationship have I created here? And that doesn't mean you created a bad relationship on purpose. It doesn't mean that the relationship that you're struggling with is something you did intentionally. 9.99999 times out of 10, you did not create that intentionally. Most of the time, I would find it very hard to believe that anybody creates things that are negative intentionally. Okay. That question changes everything. What relationship have I created here? Right? Or has been created? Say it that way, maybe. Maybe that's a little less implying that you did it. What relationship has been created here? Say that instead of have I created here. So let's take a deeper look. Okay. You don't simply eat food. You don't just have a you have a relationship with food, right? You don't just eat food, but you have a relationship with food. You don't just manage money. You have a relationship with money. You don't simply experience stress. You have a relationship with stress. You don't simply exercise, you have a relationship with exercise. Some people view stress as proof that they're failing. Others view stress as information, right? Same circumstance, different relationship. We call that a different thought, right? I'll give you an example. Yesterday, this happened. Now, over the weekend, a few days ago, I had terrible shoulder rotator cuff issues. I've had issues with my rotator cuff for many years for all the physical intensive labor work I did in construction and painting. And by the end of the night, I couldn't move my arm at all. And throughout the night over the weekend, I was in a tremendous amount of pain. I thought for sure I'm going to have to go to the hospital. Something terribly is wrong. I feel like I must have torn something, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff I was telling myself was just making me more and more in pain. Okay. Here's what happened. Go to my doctor. Doctor says, go get an ultrasound. Gives me the place to go get an ultrasound. And I drive like an hour and 20 minutes to get to my parents' house. And then another 25 minutes to get to this other place, which it just was because the traffic was so bad. The traffic was like 30 minutes longer than what it would normally be. So I drive all the way there, get there, and then they tell me, oh, we don't do that here. I'm like, excuse me? Wouldn't the person who took my information and she knew exactly what I was having done, wouldn't she know that you don't perform that duty here anymore, an ultrasound? And they were like, I am so sorry. And they were just waiting for me to explode because I had already told them, I just drove an hour and a half to get here, minus the time that it took me to get to my parents. But now that's just an hour and a half drive. That's 3 hours out of my time. And time, gas, tolls, all of that, right? And they were just like, we are so sorry. I said, it's fine. It's fine. Right? Because my relationship with something going wrong or mistakes being made, like I'm not making that mean anything, and I don't give my energy to that negativity, right? So it's how you're looking at it. I didn't get stressed out over it. I didn't make it mean that everything's gone wrong, right? I just had a different relationship with something not working out the way that I was hoping for it to work out. I was really looking forward to the ultrasound and really looking forward to finding out what was going on with my shoulder. Okay. So it's so important on how we have some awareness around how we react to things. That's a very good indicator. Some people view failure as evidence that they're not good enough, which I did for many years, right? And other people view failure as evidence that they're growing. That moment for me felt like a very growth moment. I didn't react to it. I was perfectly fine with it. I was happy that I got to listen to 3 hours of my audiobook that I had just started listening to. And now I'm 3 hours in. I was happy for that. I was happy for the fact that because I had this appointment, I got a chance to stop and see my parents, right? Same experience, different relationship. Some people see exercise as punishment. Some others see it as self-respect. Isn't that crazy? Right? Same activity, different relationship. The relationship changes everything. And I'm going to go even deeper now because every relationship we've discussed today is connected to one central relationship. Who can guess what that is? Yeah, it's your relationship with yourself when it comes to those different areas. Now, I focus on 10 areas: physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. Those are health. And then relationship, your intimate relationship, your parenting relationship, the kids, the mentoring, your family relationships with everybody else in the family, extended family, social relationships, you in relationship with your community, your causes, and then business and financial, right? Your relationship with your clients and your business and your work and your monies. Okay. How you speak to yourself when no one else is around and how you treat yourself when you make a mistake, when things don't go according to plan, when you fall short of your own expectations. Do you offer yourself grace or criticism? Do you offer yourself compassion or judgment? Are you working with patience or feeling pressured? Because the relationship you have with yourself becomes the blueprint for every other relationship in your life. Does that make sense for you guys? Please put in any comments to help me understand what I can give more to you guys on or what you're connecting with. Because if you don't trust yourself, you will struggle to trust your decisions. If you don't value yourself, you will often, most of the time, you will settle for less than what you deserve. I know these things for a fact. I did not read them in a book. I literally lived much of the things I say to you. If you don't believe you're capable, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities that require growth. The relationship with yourself becomes the foundation for everything. Everything else gets built on top of that. Okay. When I look back at my own life, I can see this everywhere. You guys, I am never telling you things that I haven't personally gone through myself. I have been my first patient, client, victim from day one, right? There were so many times I thought I needed more confidence, needed one more training, needed one more skill, needed one more affirmation, needed one more proof that I was good enough, right? What I really needed was a healthier relationship with myself, right? There were so many times that I thought that I lacked discipline. What I really needed was a healthier relationship with consistency, right? There were so many times I thought fear was the problem. What I eventually realized was that I had developed a relationship with fear that gave it far too much authority in my decision making. Okay. And as I began to examine all of these relationships, that's when things started to change. Not overnight, but intentionally. One thought, one belief, one pattern, one relationship at a time. So here's my invitation for you this week, right? I want you to choose just one of those areas of your life that I mentioned, just one. Maybe it's health, maybe it's money, maybe it's time, maybe it's stress, maybe it's a relationship. Okay. Maybe it's your relationship with yourself. But I want you to pick one of those other areas so that you can see your relationship with yourself in that area. And I want you to ask, what relationship has been created in this area? What do I believe about myself in this area? And what do I believe about this area, right? If it's health, if it's body image, if it's your weight, whatever it is, what pattern am I repeating? What beliefs am I carrying? Like, what do I think about this? What are the top 3 feelings that come up when I think about this area? What's the consistent story that I tell myself that shows up every time? And perhaps maybe the biggest and the most important question you can ask, is this relationship helping me create what I want in this area? Okay. Or is it just quietly keeping me stuck? Right? We all know awareness is where the transformation begins. You cannot change anything if you refuse or are unable to see it. So for you guys, my amazing trailblazers, this framework has been the heart of all of my coaching work for years. I've watched people transform their health, relationships, careers, their finances, their confidence, and their overall quality of life when they stopped focusing solely on goals and started examining the relationship and patterns producing their results. Over the next coming the next coming episodes, I think I'm just going to pull back the curtain on all the exact concepts that I've taught inside my How to Put Your Goals on Autopilot program. It is all the core of what my book that's going to be coming out is going to be about. And we're going to explore all of the hidden relationships running your life and uncover the patterns that may be helping you either move forward or quietly holding you back, right? Feeling stuck. Because when you change that relationship, you change the pattern, right? When you change the pattern, you change the result. And when you change enough results, you change the quality of your life, right? It's just one intentional choice at a time. And we're going to go through like this work in every specific area. And I might even break down each area into several different episodes. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with someone else that you love and may also want to hear it and benefit from it. And if you're ready to identify the hidden patterns that may be keeping you stuck, and keeping you from your next level of growth, I would love to connect with you. So until next time, remember, lead your life by design, not by default. We have to grow through what we go through. So I'll see you next week. And